brother saw you on your Messiah Complex tour. It was fantastic.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Thank you.
You say we need to choose our idols, or our idols will be chosen for us.
Oh, yeah, that was a good slogan, wasn't it? Like, you know, like, the stuff like, we end up worshipping things inadvertently and accidentally, end up caring too much about, you know, iPod, iPad, I want, and forgetting what's really important. Me.
You know, you said that you knew you were going to be famous, right? That's what I read in the book, that you knew you were going to be famous,
Right.
but you were afraid that it was going to have a traumatic effect. Is that, am I misquoting?
What I think it was, is I was an only child, I was an insecure little fella, and I thought that if I didn't become famous, there was no way that I was going to feel any sense of connection or happiness. I was a nervous little lad. I'm very grateful that I did become famous, because otherwise I don't think I'd have ever had the confidence to talk to anyone, let alone someone with dimples like those, for God's sake, Robert.
And you're very well-rounded. I mean, you were voted, and I'm not sure who votes. I guess that's the secret part of this whole thing, but you were voted Shagger of the Year.
Yes, one of my proudest accolades. Back in my country, Britain, the country of Shakespeare and Milton, is that I am the shagger of some years.
Give it up, guys. I mean, that can't be easy.
That means you're doing the shagging.
You have to do the shagging, Rosie.
To do the shag, but not the
Otherwise-
shaggy.
I don't know. I mean, I think as long as you're involved in the shag... I mean, to be honest, the adjudication process is quite loose. No one was looking. No one turned up during the shag and said, well, that looks technically inept.
So you weren't... But it's not just about the shag, right? I mean, you're looking for love, I hear.
I think everyone ultimately is looking for love. In fact, whatever it is we might think that we're looking for, perhaps behind it is love. We might think that we want our football team to win. We might think that we want a new pair of sexy trainers. We might think, in fact, that we want to snog you in spite of your political views. But behind all of that, behind all of those desires, really is a yearning for connection and love.
Yes.
Probably, is there? I don't know. I'm just trying to work it out.
Yeah, I think
Probably
you're
it's that,
on
isn't
something.
it?
It's probably that, yeah. She's laughing at you. Or me, I don't know.
No, both. I was wondering, Russell, if you have decided if you want to sponsor people, because I know that one of the things that I love about you is that you have recovered and are staying on a pretty even path, but I wonder if you're prepared to sponsor other people on the same path.
Do you mean with regard to drug and alcohol
Drug and
addiction?
alcohol, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, part of my daily recovery, one day at a time, from drugs and alcohol is that I have to be available to help anybody at all that has a drug or alcohol problem. It's really annoying, in fact. If anyone at all with a drug or alcohol problem says, Russell, I want to get clean, I have to help them. It's like a mandatory obligation. And sometimes I sort of want to go, no, oh, I have to.
Yeah. You have to.
Do you
And it's been like 11 years for you, right? Oh, sorry, honey. Over 11 years, right?
It is over 11 years,
Yes.
though, since I've had any drugs.
I read that you write about homeless vets in your book. I know we're going to get to talk about that
Yeah,
more.
not veterinarians, because, like, how would you ever help a dog or cat if you lived in an alleyway?
Right. It would be, well, in
I mean,
some ways,
vets like
easier.
army vets.
Right, army vets. But, and you took a homeless person into your flat, so I think this, I think it's easier for you than you make it say, to say yes to people.
Sometimes people are stigmatised because of something like homelessness, but I know loads of people that are homeless, and they're exactly the same as me, except for a roof.
And you talk to them, and
Yeah.
you don't have any of that sort of barrier that I think other people, some people step over them. You write a lot about how you don't do that.
I think it's important to try to acknowledge that we are ultimately unified by our common humanity, not divided by superficial distinctions.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't always work out well. I once gave a homeless man a phone and said, stay in touch with me and report back to me, so I remain grateful for having a home and everything, and he sent me a photograph of his genitals.
I hate what...
We're back with Russell Brand. His new book is called Revolution.
Why is it called Revolution, Russell?
It's called Revolution, Whoopi, right? Because that Albert Einstein, who, if nothing else, was clever, said you can't change a system using the thinking that created it. That means if you want to change things, you have to look at alternative ways of thinking. The way things are at the moment, the people that benefit from it don't want it to change. They are happy with it the way it is. That's why things like ecological disaster, economic inequality, global meltdown and war are largely ignored, because they are serving the purpose of the people that are in control. If you want change to come, it will not come from them.
And Russell, one of your favorite Solzhenitsyn quotes, I think, is very apt, that you've been using lately a lot.
Oh, yeah, all right. This must be the first Solzhenitsyn quote on The View, surely. Solzhenitsyn was a Russian dissident and author. He goes, "The line between good and evil does not come between nations, religions, races or creeds, but runs through every human heart." Meaning we all have the capacity to be a bit selfish and egotistical. I know I do. So I just try and tend towards the best part of myself, and then everyone else tries to do it, and then we create a more positive environment. Or, as Rocky IV said, if I can change and you can change, maybe the whole...
Rocky.
Can I ask you about I saw some of the interviews you've done in the book, and you have an insistence that this revolution cannot and will not come about through voting. But there's not a revolution that I can think of that without violence has brought about change. So you take out violence, because that's
Yes, violence is obviously bad. That would not, you can't achieve anything through violence.
And you take out voting. So how are these changes going to happen without voting, without violence?
Well, the only reason I disagree with voting is because, for me, the political system in my country, there are two parties, but both the parties are really similar to one another, and it seems that they're more interested in representing big business than the ordinary people of my country. I wonder if it's the same here.
It is very similar.
It is, but you know, I think in this country, when people hear you say that, you know, they get nervous because people of color fought so hard for the right to vote.
Yes, and women fought very hard to vote.
Yes.
And the reason people fought so hard to vote is because they wanted their views represented. They wanted to be free. Now we've ended up with a government that doesn't represent us in a lot of countries. Your own Thomas Jefferson said every generation should have a revolution, and I think we need one now. You know, when your country was ruled by an economic elite that taxed you without representing you, you kicked them out. It was us, the English.
Right.
And now you're in a similar situation where an economic elite who doesn't represent you, is not interested in your values or your views, only wants to represent rich elites and corporations. You similarly have this situation, only now it's not divided by an ocean, only an ocean of money, a green sea of inequality.
Thomas Jefferson also said that revolution comes about when people are willing to bleed for their cause. So what are you willing to bleed for your cause? Are you willing to change your life around? If someone came to you and gave you $100 million to make these changes, I saw you pressed in an interview, and I know you got a little cross, and I hope you don't get cross with me. But
I didn't think you got cross at all. I thought it was brilliant. And it's had 11 million views. 11 million views, his interview with Paxson over in
I
England.
thought you got a little cross and testy when pressed to get... I think you have an opportunity to get specific. I think you have an opportunity to ask people to do something, and you haven't gotten specific.
I have actually. That's what this book is.
I read the whole book. I read the whole thing.
Yes, yes, it is. Organise your own workplaces. Organise the places where you live. If you're unhappy with the amount of money you're paying for your rent or your mortgage, ask other people if they feel similar to you. Organise. You won't be represented at a political level.
But don't vote.
Well, unless a party emerges that says, hello, we're here for ordinary American people. We're not going to accept money from lobbyists in Washington. We're not going to represent big corporations, pharmaceuticals, Monsanto. We're interested in representing you, ordinary people. If a party like that comes into being, by God, vote for them. But there is not a party like that in America. There's not a party like that in the United Kingdom, and the reason is because we live under tyranny.
Well, no, there was a party. There was a party. It was Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader in our country did represent those values, and what had happened is that the people didn't come out to support him. And a lot of times here in America, we vote against our own self-interest.
Why do we do that? It's almost like the media feeds us narratives where we oppress immigrants, people that are vulnerable, people with disability, people that are different colours from the majority of the population. These people are constantly blamed for social problems. I'm a recovering drug addict. We are constantly criminalised and persecuted and imprisoned. And in a way, it's like people are always looking for scapegoats, people to condemn and blame, instead of, if you're looking for where to get more money to create a better society, look at the people that have got all of the money. That's where the problem is.